Hi guys, Travis here with Upgraded RC. In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace your differential fluid in the front and rear differentials on the Revo 2.0. So what I'm going to be using is the 50,000 weight Traxxas differential lube, which I believe is stock front and rear. There's a lot of misconceptions out there on all the forums and stuff. I hear some people talking about 20,000 in the front, 30 in the rear. I hear 40 all the way around. I hear 50 all the way around. I think it's 50 all the way around, front and rear, but you know what? Let's call Traxxas and find out. All right. Let's call Traxxas and bring it into this.
If you're busy, please try your call again later.
They're busy.
Announcement 8, switch 5, 8-4.
We're going to press 3 for technical support. Yeah, it's 81504. My name's Travis. Well, I was rebuilding the differentials here on my Revo 2.0, and there's a lot of misconception out there about which weight is in it. Is stock 50,000 front and rear, or is it different than that?
Yeah, so from the factory, both differentials are filled with SAE 50,000 weight silicone oil.
Okay, and what level are you filling those up to? Are you packing that as well, or is it like a half to 3/4 thing?
I'm packing it full. Obviously, you don't want to get too much to where you have excess to flow out, but you want to get it pretty full. You want to get enough in there to where there's not going to be any displacement or anything like that.
Okay, well that's what I needed to know. Thank you very much for your time, sir. I appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, there you have it, guys. Straight from Traxxas. That's the best way to find out, is just give them a call. No more rumors, no more misconception. It is 50,000 K stock front and rear on the Revo 2.0 differentials. The center diff is 20 million. And they recommend that the center diff is pretty much full, and the front and the rear diffs, 3/4 to 7/8. He said he usually tries to fill his up. That's really just a preference as far as what you want. And there are plenty of other oils out there, guys. You don't have to use 50K. Once again, that's a preference. I've seen everywhere from 10,000, 20, 30, 40, all the way up to 100,000. I've even seen 500,000 weight. So that the weight depends on what you want to use, and the amount you're filling it up is also what you really want to use. But once again, stock is 50K front and rear. Okay, so the other thing I want to show you guys here is this book. This is what came with your Traxxas Revo. This is the same one in the back that's got all the schematics for the parts. You've seen it before, you know what I'm talking about. Well, in the front here, there's actually a parts list right in front of your schematics here. And if you look at the driveline components here, I just want to show you guys something. See how this right here, the type is really dark, bold black. All the dark, bold black typing is options. This is 30K. See, this is 10K, 100K. Right here. See, this is not bold black, and it says differential, 20 million weight standard. Well, it's the same thing right here for the differential oil. 50K weight. This is what's in the front and rear of the differentials. This is standard, even though it's not written next to it. It's not in bold type. Now, this book works the same way for everything here. Just so you know, all of the big black bold type are options. The rest is standard. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and tear this thing apart and change out our diff fluid. So to start, we're going to remove the biggest part of this whole rebuild. The cover. Next, I want you guys to take off all 4 tires. And underneath, go ahead and let's remove this skid plate, this skid plate, this skid plate, and this skid plate. We'll get right back to you. After you get all the screws out of your skid plates here, your skid plates removed, next thing we're going to want to do is flip it over. 3 screws here. I don't know if you guys can see them, but there's one down in here in between the shocks, and then there's one here and one here. We're going to want to take the first one out, and the other 2 just go ahead and loosen them up, and that'll slide this whole bumper and assembly off the front. And then this whole bumper assembly just slides right off after that. One piece. Look at that. Next, we're going to want to take these Allens here out of our rockers to remove our push rods from the suspension. And then we'll go ahead and take out the Allens that are holding this end of the shock on as well. And also the 2.5 millimeter here with the bearing on it, so we can remove the entire rocker. Now we're going to want to flip it over again, and we're going to get these 4 Allens here, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, which basically is going to remove this piece here so we can take out the shocks. So now we can remove these 2 bolts right here that hold our shocks in, and because we've already taken the other 4 Allens out down here on the bottom, that's going to allow us to remove our whole upper support and shocks at the same time. There's the upper support. Here's our 2 shocks. Next, we're going to want to take our 2 Allens out here and here that hold the steering arm on, as well as the 2 Allens that hold the steering link to the steering arm, which are located down here. Go ahead and take those out. Once you get those out, you can disconnect your steering arm from your servo linkage and from your steering links, and the whole servo arm will come right out in one piece. Next, we're going to undo this Allen here and take off this blue retainer so that we can pull out our 4 pins right here on the bottom to expose the rest of it for the next step. So once you pull your pins out and get your A-arms off of here, now we are almost there. See how our axles came disconnected here? And the only thing we got left now, we're going to pull out these 2 Allens here as the lower part of our steering arm, and these 2 Allens here for the retainer, and then we're going to flip it over and pull the last ones out, and this whole piece is going to come off. And now there's just 4 screws left. The 2 that you originally loosened up to get your front bumper assembly to come out, and these 2 here, and that's it. The whole piece is going to come right off. That's it, guys. You slide the drive shaft off the yoke and pull it out, and there's the whole thing in one piece right there. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and do the back now. We're going to start by cutting this zip tie here that holds our 3 motor wires on to our rear support, so we'll get rid of that. And if you have the stock support still, it's going to look like this. You're going to go ahead and take all of these Allens here out of the corners, this one on the back and these 2 holding the shocks on. I'm going to do the same thing on my upgraded here aluminum rear support. I'm going to take the 2 off here, the one in the back that pulls that off, and then we're going to remove all the Allens that hold the shocks on, and the 2 Allens will hold the push rods on, and the 2 Allens will hold the rockers on, so we can take those off as well. Okay, guys, then you got to pull out these 3 Allens in the back here again. You got that one right there, that one there, and that one there. So pull all 3 of those out, and this entire wing section is going to come off in one piece. Okay, so you got those 3 out. Now the whole wing's going to pull off in one piece. This whole thing's just going to come right off here, just like that. And as soon as that comes off, the bottom of your bulkhead's going to fall off of your chassis here. You're going to pull out the yoke, and that's it. Now we got the front and the back off. Here you go, guys. Here's the chassis with the front and rear bulkhead removed. We're going to go ahead and set this aside now and concentrate on our bulkheads and get our differentials out of there. Our front bulkhead here. What we're going to do to make things easier is we're going to go ahead and just pull these pins out that are holding our rear A-arms. You just pull these right out like butter, like nothing. Now our A-arms are separated from the bulkhead. Now remember which side these go on. I believe they are marked, but it'll just make your life a lot easier remembering which way they go. And you can always remember that the bottom of the push rod here, that A-arm is always on the bottom where it attaches to. When you pull those out, you're going to notice you've got all these little spacers here too that came off. These go on the upper pin of your control arm, the long pins we just pulled out. That's what gives you your caster alignment. You got to make sure these are back in the correct spot There's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. Now we're also going to need to remove this front drive shaft here, which is a small Allen right here. It's a 2mm that takes that out. And then your drive cups right here. Both of these will need to come out as well, and they also have a 2mm right here to take those off. That way you can access your differential inside the bulkhead. When you're taking off your rear cups here, your drive cups, I would recommend that you use a hand Allen. These little Allens here are so tight from the factory, and when you're trying to get your Allen in this little spot right here, you could possibly strip them out, then it's a nightmare. I've done this once before. I couldn't get them out. I had to drill them out and extract them with a screw extractor best I could, and then get the rest out, and then replace my drag cuts because I had to ruin them to get them off. So please make sure you use just a hand Allen to get this off. If you try to use a power tool, more than likely you're going to strip them out. You're going to have a really bad day. A couple hours anyway. So on the rear bulkhead, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take and remove these 3 Allens. So this one, the one in the center, and this one, and then this retaining plate. And then we can go ahead and pull out all 4 of our pins and our push rod ends here, and that will come out as well. And then go ahead and take off the 1 Allen here to remove your drive shaft as well. So here's our front and rear bulkheads right here. We've got them out of the car. Got everything off them. They're pretty stripped down. These rocker shafts here, you can go ahead and leave those on there. You don't need to take them off. Just when you put it back on, make sure they're tight, and make sure they're not bent or anything like that, and then go ahead and put a little bit of lube on them when you're putting it back together. Now I'm going to go ahead and take an air compressor now, and I'm going to blow out as much of this dirt here and stuff as I can, just to make it easier for me when I'm taking it apart. So I went ahead and blew it off with the air compressor, and you can see I got most of the dirt out of here and stuff. They're fairly clean. Now we can go ahead and take them apart. Now each one of these has 6 Allens on it. There's 2 right here in the front, and then there's 4 back here. Same thing in the back. You got the 2 in the front and the 4 back here. So we'll go ahead and pull those out, and I think I'm just going to do one at a time. We'll go ahead and start with our front. So once you guys get your 6 Allens out of the bulkhead, you can go ahead and gently open it up here. And now we can see inside, we can see our pinion gear here, and we can see our ring gear. Now I've got a drive shaft here. I'm just going to stick back on here so that I can turn this and show you guys how this works. Now, as our motor turns our drive shaft, you can see it turns the pinion. As it turns the pinion gear, it turns the ring gear. Now inside of our ring gear here, bolted to it is a housing that contains our spider gears. Our spider gears are inside here, and this is what lets both the tires go different directions when it gets stuck. So you guys probably notice all the blue grease I've got inside here. That is not factory from Traxxas. This is actually Vanquish Blue Rock Lube. It's really, really good grease. I love it. I put it on my ring and pinions. I put it inside my servos on the gears. I stick it in my pivot valves. It just runs really, really good stuff. It's probably the best forms of lubrication I can find out there. Matter of fact, I like it so much, I went ahead and put it inside my differential here for the spider gears, and that's where I made my mistake. I like my spider gears to be really, really stiff. And even though this is the best form of lubrication I could find, a friend told me about it and it works really good, it's just not for me. I want my diff to be a little bit stiffer. So we're going to go ahead and put the 50K in there and take the blue grease out. So here's what we're after here. This is our rear differential with the ring gear bolted to it. So we can pick off this outside bearing here. And we can take off this bearing here, clean this up just a little bit. And I do recommend that you use an Allen on this so you don't strip them out, at least to get them all cracked anyway. Once you get them all cracked, then you can go ahead and use your power tool to take it the rest of the way out. Okay, now we've got the bolts out. Let's see what's inside here. There you go. There's more of my blue grease. We've got our output shaft here, which is going to come out of there. And we've got a seal inside there. Make sure you don't lose that little seal. Now there's a gasket on here you need to be really gentle with. It's a rubber gasket, but I still say it's pretty fragile. So you take this off gently and set it aside. Now inside of our differential housing here, if I push up from the bottom, now you can see the spider gears are exposed. So here's all of our spider gears and our keepers, the other output shaft, and a big chunk of mess here, big bunch of blue goo mess. I'm going to get all this cleaned up, and I'm going to show you guys what each individual piece is and how it goes back together. Alright guys, so after about an hour of cleaning everything up, here's the result I get. I used WD-40 and my old toothbrush and a pick to get in some of the tight places and a Q-tip to clean it out there after that. And then I also had a rag. Let me clean some of this stuff up here and I'll show you what's going on. Okay guys, here we go. I got all these parts laid out here for you. They're all nice and clean. I'm going to show you how to put it back together and fill it correctly. First thing I'd like to say, you notice how everything is so nice and clean? That's really important, guys. I can't stress that upon you enough. What you had in here before, whether it be the grease that I had or fluid, it carries all the contaminants inside of this carrier here. Dust, dirt, metal shavings from your shaft, plastic shavings from this, it's all inside that contaminant. It's all in your fluid. You need to throw that away, get rid of all of it, clean it as best you possibly can. Then we can go ahead and install our new fluid. So let's start with the output shaft here. You're checking to make sure that all the teeth on here, all the gears, nothing is cracked or destroyed, damaged in any way. You want your shaft to be smooth and straight and free of any kind of debris. Then you got your seal here. We want to make sure that the seal is still flexible and not destroyed in any way. These are the cross pins. They've got a little hash mark in the center of them. And what you do is you put these together, and that's where your spider gear is right on. I'm going to show you in just a second. Now here's our other seal, and here's our other output shaft. This is the one washer that you use on the output shaft to protect the seal. So basically you take the output shaft and put the washer on there, and then this seal goes inside your drive cup, and then the output shaft with the washer on it goes down inside your drive cup to protect the seal. We've got our 4 spider gears here. Once again, you're going to want to inspect all the teeth or the gears to make sure there's no cracks or nothing damaged. And then we move on here to our retainers. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this retainer here, on one side of it, it's smooth and flat and shiny. On the other side of it, it's kind of round and contoured. It's not as smooth and flat as shiny. So I want to show you guys something here. This is the service manual from Traxxas, and we are looking at the exploded view of the front and rear differential assembly. Now here are these 2 retainers. I'm calling them retainers. Traxxas is calling them supports. Same difference. But anyway, you can't tell by this exploded view which way they go. You can't tell if it's the flat side or the curved side that goes towards the spider gear. So which side goes towards the spider gear? Curved or flat? So guys, this is why I revised my video. If you notice in the front part of this video it says revised, or if you've seen it before, you've known that I've changed something here. This is the reason why. One of my viewers, and I hope I say your name right, Joshua Zansky, has called me out on this. He said that when he took his front differential apart and rear differential, both of the retainers or supports were facing the spider gear, opposite of the way that I said in my last video. So I called Traxxas because this piqued my interest and I really wanted to know the correct way. So the guy that I talked to told me that from Traxxas, factory from Traxxas, the flat side does go against the spider gear and the contoured side goes against the housing. Now he also told me that it doesn't matter, it's only a support. And if you watch some of the other videos out there, I mean, I know there's several out there, I'm not going to name any names, but it seems like almost all of them are doing the same thing. They're recommending that you put the contoured side towards the spider gear. And my thought behind this, guys, not besides what I said that it came like that from the factory from me on mine, whether they did it wrong or not, my thought was that with the contoured side towards the spider gear, you'd have more flow for your fluid, less resistance, so to speak, so that your gears would turn easier and your fluid would move easier. That's kind of what I was thinking and my thought behind it. I guess it really doesn't matter how you put them in. So I just wanted to clarify that, guys, and let you know. And that's why I revised the video. I'm not out to give anybody any bad information, and I hope that helps you out. So from the factory, these retainers do come flat side towards the spider gear. Here's our ring gear. This is what the pinion runs. There's also a seal that's going to go inside here and another output shaft. This is our gasket made out of rubber. It sits on here and then the cup goes over top of it. We've got our bearings here. You're going to want to take and turn your bearings and make sure there's no play in them. They should spin freely. There should be no movement whatsoever. You got the two for the outside of your differential, and then you got the two for your pinion gear here. This is your pinion gear. Once again, you're going to want to inspect all the teeth or gears, make sure that there's nothing cracked or broken, and your shaft is straight and there's no debris sticking out. That's it. Let's go ahead and put it together, guys. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take your differential housing and your seal and drop it in there, and just go ahead and put your thumb in there and just kind of push down on the seal and work it around in a circle until you get it seated in there. Once you get your seal seated inside your housing, the next thing you're going to want to do is find some sort of a cap. I'm just going to use a Guinness cap here, and we're going to take some of our fluid and just put just a drop or two in there, just a little bit, so we can lubricate some of the surfaces with our finger here. Just a little bit, that's all we need. The reason why we did that, so we could take our shaft, put a little bit of this fluid on our finger here. We're going to lubricate our shaft with it, and also underneath here where a washer goes, so that our washer is going to stick to that. Makes it a lot easier for installation, trust me. I'm going to put your washer on there. Put just a little bit more around that. As that washer's rubbing against our seal, we want to protect our seal. That's also the reason why we lubricated our shaft here, was to go through the seal. After you get your washer on your shaft and your shaft lubed up, go ahead and stick it through the center of your washer here, your drive cup, very carefully, and twist side to side as you do it so it goes through real smooth. That way it doesn't rip your seal. Alright, that looks pretty good. Next, we're going to assemble our spider gears inside of our differential housing. Easiest way I've found to do this is take your drive cup, drop your differential housing inside of it so it stands it up for you. Then you can take a cross pin, two of your spider gears, point them inward like that. You've got your retainers here. Go ahead and drop that in there. Some people like to do the whole assembly at one time. I like to do one at a time. It just makes it easier to get it in there. I've dropped it out way too many times. Okay, and then another pin. Grab your spider gears. Put them in towards each other. Retainer. Oops, don't drop it. Spread it apart a little bit. And go ahead and drop this in the other side here. Now don't worry about matching up your pins right now with the cross hatches. Once you get it in there, and you go ahead and turn it around, the pins will line up and drop in where they're supposed to. And that's exactly what we want right there. See that action? Ah, that feels so good. There's not even anything in there yet. Once you have that done, we're going to go ahead and take our ring gear and we're going to drop the other seal into the ring gear. Same thing, just kind of push it around with your thumb until it seats in there nicely and it's flush. Then we're going to go ahead and take our other output shaft here, and here's back to our Guinness cap again. We're going to get the last little bit of that 50 weight fluid we put on there just to lube up the seal just a little bit. We don't want to put the shaft through a dry seal. It doesn't work very good. So now we can stick this through here and just kind of turn it very gently side to side until it gets in there where it wants to be. It turns nice and smooth. So the next step is to take your ring gear and a little bit of the fluid that we got left on our beer cap here. Just kind of put it around the flat spots on your ring gear. Just a little bit, not much. And what that's going to do is that's going to hold our gasket in place. Makes it a lot easier for assembly. We'll go ahead and line it up while it's on here. And now you can see it's stuck to it. So after that, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure that all of our spider gears turn really good and our cross pins are in the hatches where they're supposed to be. Everything feels really good. There's no problems there. And we're going to do the same thing on our ring gear here. Make sure it feels really smooth. And now I think it's time to go ahead and fill it up. We got our 50,000 weight differential fluid here from Traxxas. We're going to go ahead and dump some in here. Kind of like molasses, it's just really thick. It takes a while. There it goes. Gonna kind of coat all the gears here really nice. Get a decent amount in there. And then we'll go ahead and turn our gears around several times to get it down the lower parts. Now as you do this, you'll notice your cross pins are going to rise. They keep coming up, so you're going to have to push it down with a screwdriver or something here. And keep turning it. Make sure you got fluid everywhere, all over the place. We'll go ahead and give it a little more here. All right, turn it again. Well, that's feeling pretty good, I gotta say, guys. That's just feeling great. Push our cross pins back down again. I'd say we're probably about 90% right now. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Turn it a little bit. Push them pins back down. Let this settle. Let's see what we got here. Okay, I'd say after turning it and pushing the cross pins back down, constantly filling, and I'm probably about 95% full right now, which is where I want to be. So we're going to go ahead and put the top back on. This is our ring gear right here. I'm going to put the ring gear back on very gently to match up our gasket and ring gear here. Like so. And then we'll take our screws and put them back in here. Once you get them all started in there hand tight, then you can go ahead and use your power tool. Bring them down a little bit. I wouldn't tighten them up at all, just bring them down kind of close to snug. Now go back to your hand Allen here and just kind of crank it. and a star pattern. Tighten it down very evenly. You don't want to warp the plastic. You want your gear to sit on there nice and smooth. Keep going around a star pattern until you get it nice and tight. Well, it's nice and snug, I should say. You shouldn't really get it too tight. You don't need to get it too tight at your bunch of plastic. Just needs to be really good and snug. I go around several times here to get it nice and even. Okay. Oh wow, that's really nice and smooth. Wow, hard to turn with just without the output shafts on there. Once you kind of temporarily put your drive cups back on there, you can really feel how smooth this is. Man, that feels great. That's awesome. It should be really smooth operation. No binding. I think that feels great. This is going to be awesome. Let's go ahead and get our bearings back on the differential and our differential back in the bulkhead. Now the larger bearing here, this one goes on the ring gear side, and the smaller bearing here goes up against the differential housing. Once you get those on there, we can go ahead and put our drive cups on, which I'm going to use some Loctite here. So once you get your bearings on both sides of your differential here, and you get your drive cups on, and you've got your Loctite in there, I use blue, that way I can get it back out. Believe it or not, it'll actually help you get it back out. If you've ever had one of these that's really stubborn and hard to get out, if you use Loctite when you put it back in, it will come out easier, even though it keeps it in there because of the vibrations and stuff. And remember, on the Loctite, let it dry for 24 hours, or you might as well not even put it on at all. It takes 24 hours to do anything at all. And by the way, I'm going to use this blue Vanquish grease. I've showed it to you guys before. This is what I like. This stuff works really good. It's great for ring and pinion. Some of the best stuff I found out there. Guys, I've been getting bashed by quite a bit of you wondering why I'm using so much of the Vanquish blue grease in my bulkheads on the ring and pinion. I'm sorry, I'm old school. I've been working on cars and trucks and motorcycles for 30 plus years. Anytime I do a wheel bearing or pack something that requires grease, I usually get it, you know, fairly well packed. And I guess I carried that out of the RC world. For all you guys that are watching this, if you are using the blue Vanquish grease, this is great stuff. You only need the size of a pea, I've been told. That's it. Just go ahead and take the size of a pea out on your finger and distribute it around your ring and pinion, and that's supposed to be all you need. If you are going to use some of the older grease, if that's what you've got, that's fine. You can use that, no problem at all. And I wouldn't recommend you packing it, but you want to get a decent amount in there so that it's constantly covered all the time. With this type of the Vanquish grease, it just works so good, I guess you just need a little bit. So I'm sorry guys, whichever method works best for you. Now we're going to go ahead and put our 6 bolts back in here, our 6 Allens, and tighten it down. As you're tightening this down, you're going to want to tighten it down evenly all the way around. I wouldn't recommend using a power tool. It's just plastic and you could strip it out. Just want to make sure you go all the way around all these and everything's kind of even so that it's nice and centered. It's not binding on anything. And once you get all your 6 Allens tightened down evenly, that's pretty much it. You can check it for free play here. It should be free and smooth, no obstructions, both for your differential and your ring and pinion. Okay, so a couple things I wanted to show you guys real quick when you're putting it back together, because I'm not going to go step by step here. You'll notice here on each bulkhead you've got 2 holes here, top and bottom, on both sides. Now that's where your pins go that hold on your control arms. Okay? So you're going to want to use the top hole for the stock position. If you were in the lower one before, go ahead and put it back in the lower one. But for stock position out of the box, Traxxas says put it in the top one on both bulkheads. And something else to know here, on the front one only, it does not have this on the back, but on the front one only, when you're putting your control arms back together, put your pin through here and get it in your top hole. Now these are these little clips I was talking about before. When we pulled it apart that they fell out, these are your caster clips. And what these are for, you're going to want to make sure that you put 2 of them here in this position. And I'm not popping them on here. They do pop on and snap in there pretty good. But you're going to want 2 here, closest to the bulkhead, and then you're going to slide this over, and you're going to put the other 2 right here. So that when you get done, your caster clips will look something like this. This is what maintains the correct amount of caster on your control arm, and that would be this direction here. So make sure you get that correct. 2 here and 2 here, and your pin goes through the top hole on both of them. And by the way, guys, these caster clips are pretty cheap. I would recommend getting another pack of them because when you're putting them on, they'll pop off and fly over there and you can't seem to find them. But for $3 and you get 8 of them, I think that's a pretty good deal. So you might want to pick up a pack of these in case you lose yours when you're putting it back together. Now the other thing I want to talk about here is when you get to the point where you're installing your steering arm back. This is here because you have 2 servos on the Revo 2.0, and this arm is meant to connect both of them together with a spring in here so that you've got a little bit of control and over the bumps and stuff like that, it's not all sloppy. But if you get it too tight, it will wear out your servos. So make sure that your arms move freely with no obstruction whatsoever after you get that tight. And I just wanted to tell you guys that when I'm putting stuff back together, WD-40 is my go-to for everything. I clean everything with this in a rag, a toothbrush, a Q-tip. That works really good. I spray all of my bearings with this WD-40 Specialist. It's a gel lubricant. And this is meant, it's kind of like chain lube. It's meant to stay on everything and not fling off. So I will pretty much put this on both sides of my bearing, spin it, and then just let it sit there. It comes out in a foam. And I just let it sit there for a couple hours and then wipe it all back down clean so no dirt sticks to it so that this will stay inside your bearing. Next, for a lot of my drive cups here where the axle goes into and some other places that need to have dry lube on them, I believe they should have some lube. It shouldn't be dry. Well, this right here, this is a WD-40 Specialist Dry Lube. This is PTFE. And this is kind of a silicone-based fluid, so you'll spray it on and it'll dry. And when it dries, you have that silicone protection and it's not wet, so nothing will stick to it. Now, I've tried many different things here. I've tried garage door lube. I've tried this gunk silicone spray. I've tried all kinds of them, and I'm still searching for the correct one that's going to give me the most amount of lube. But for right now, this is the best thing that I've found. I would also go ahead and grease up my pivot balls now if you haven't done that in a while. Go ahead and pull your pivot balls out of your steering knuckles, and I would go ahead and put the Vanquish grease on them. Just a thin coat, not very much at all, just a thin coat to keep them lubed up, and that'll make that last a lot longer. Other than that, I think that's it, guys. Go ahead and put it back together once you get done. You might want to adjust your caster and camber alignment, or I'm sorry, your camber and toe-in alignment, which I've got a great video that shows in great detail exactly how to do that. So if you haven't done that in a while, or if you think when you take your control arms off, you're kind of messing up your pivot balls a little bit, the adjustment on there, I would definitely go ahead and do a camber and toe-in alignment. It'll make your car run straighter and make everything last a lot longer. Well, thanks for watching another one of my videos, guys. I appreciate it. I hope this helps someone out. I'm sorry it was so long. I try to keep my videos short, but if I'm going to take the time to go ahead and explain to you guys how to do this, I want you to have all the accurate information so that you can do it correctly the first time. You're not taking it apart and wasting your time and wasting your money. So let's go play, guys, and have a good time. I'm Travis with Upgraded RC. Peace out.